Hello, my Funatics. Yet again, I'm running behind with the GBA matches. I am really sorry. Lific is just so hectic at the moment. But I will go on to explain that. Well, no, I'll explain it now. Basically, I've been job hunting recently, and it's been crazy. It's involved a lot of travelling for interviews and stuff. But anyway, this last week, I had an interview, and I actually got it eventually, which is fantastic. I'm just going to work offline. Yeah, really, really good news. So I will be moving to a different part of the country, and hopefully we'll actually be able to concentrate more on my YouTube stuff, because at the moment my recording conditions are so bad I hardly ever get the opportunity to record how I want to. So hopefully all that's going to change, and these will become, as they should be, regular weekly uploads. I do have the PPL starting soon as well, so hopefully everything will be ready for that when it starts. But anyway, we are a week behind with this upload. This is against Miguel for week 9. I'm going to do a quick team build a bit first, and then go through the team. And then I'm hoping to... I've battled Steve, and I'm hoping to record the team builder and battle thing together for that, and have it up maybe by the end of tomorrow, with tomorrow being Sunday. So that's what I'm hoping to do. But whether that comes to fruition, I'm not sure. It may well be later than that, because I do have houses to view in Cambridge, which is ages away from me. So there's a lot of travelling still, and it might be a little bit later when I can actually record it and get it up. But anyway, this week I'll go through the team very quickly. The matchup against Miguel I will show up on the screen. There are lots of really, really scary things on his team in terms of Weavile and Talonflame. They're actually not too scary to my team, apart from that he drafted Gothitelle, which means that any checks that I have, any solid switch-ins that I might have, are no longer solid switch-ins because of Gothitelle, especially combined with Weavile, which can spam knockoff. If anything has a shed shell, it just knocks it off, and then Gothitelle can trap it anyway. So that's why my Clef Keys aren't going to work in this matchup, because they will be a really good switch-in on Weavile, but for the same reasons as last time, I just can't bring them, because it's just like a really easy offensive switch-in for him. He can trap it with Gothitelle if he doesn't want to get the momentum he would get from, say, going into a tank like Mega Blastoise or something. It just isn't a good matchup for my keys. So that means that checking Weavile is a lot harder, and also checking Talonflame is very hard too, not to mention the wall-breaking capabilities of Mega Blastoise. And then he's got some speed. He's just got very good offense against my team, which I will find hard to beat. My team is better at kind of bulky offense, but it can't do that against a team with like stall breaking and wall breaking capabilities as well as fast offense. But anyway, I'll go into what I do. What I have decided to bring. I've decided to bring a Yachiberry Crocodile, which is very similar to one I brought last time. It outspeeds Roserade. I needed something to outspeed Roserade to be able to kill it. I need rocks because that will help me get chip damage on a number of things on his team, but specifically for Talonflame and Weavile, because they are things that I think I will struggle handling. The issue being that Blastoise is a very good, reliable rapid spinner, which he will bring, so that may be hard to handle. But anyway, yeah, so this is my Crocodile that I've decided to bring. With Yachiberry and Intimidate, actually, it can really quite easily take a hit from the Weavile, and I decided to put Stone Edge on there just as a more immediate answer to Talonflame, and then he'll have to play with Edgequake, Mind Games, if he wants to try and beat this with a Will-O-Wisp Talonflame. So that's why I've gone with Crocodile. And also, it's just very good coverage for his team. So his bulky mons like Uxie and Registeel are both weak to its stabs, although the berries for ground and dark types moves are very likely to come. So Colbur and Shuka, I would expect them. Anyway, next Pokemon is going to be a Cold Turkey, which is Kyurem. I've gone for a slightly different set this time. Last time I did bring Life Orb, and that was at the beginning of the season when I was just discovering that Life Orb Kyurem is potent, but it dies so quickly, and I actually don't want that this time. I want it to be around to spam some moves and get chip damage on everything so that a sweep later on is viable. So this time, instead of Life Orb, I'm running Dragon Fang just to power up my Dragon Pulses, and I'm running Roost over... What did I have there? Maybe Toxic, I think. Last time. I've gone for a bit more power with Modest sets, but it outspeeds a Modest Rose, does it? Do these hit the same speed? No, they don't. Oh, yeah, it's probably outspeeding Modest Rose, yeah. So anyway, Dragon Pulse is really good against the team. The only thing that can take it particularly well is Registeel, which I've got Earth Power for, and then Uxie, just because of its natural bulk, I've put Shadow Ball on there just to hit it a bit harder. But Dragon Pulse is really the attack I'm going to spam, and Roost is there to keep me around longer. Next Pokemon is Mew. I did bring it last time. I wanted it as a secondary Wincon with a Calm Mindset, but the issue was it didn't have enough immediate power. So I decided to make it more of a defensive check to some things. Primeape was a problem last time just because I didn't think it would come. Well, I thought it might come. I had advice to say that it definitely wouldn't come, and therefore I thought, probably won't come. But anyway, this deals with that better, as well as some other things. It's got the Colbur Berry, so it can get damage on the Weavile with the U-turn. It does about 50%, which is really good. Toxic is great for wearing down some of his walls and bulky Pokemon like Blastoise. U-turn just to get momentum, but also actually it does deal decent damage to Weavile, and Psychic is a stab move to hit. Primeape I want Roost, so it lasts a bit longer. I also wanted it as another answer to Roserade with the Psychic there. So that's why I brought it. And Psychic also, he brought defensive Blastoise last time, so I didn't want Psychic, I wanted Psychic to hit defensive Blastoise a bit harder, because that is something that could stop the Wincon, which I will explain in a minute. But yeah, just a bit bulkier than offensive. And then we've got Soggy Doggy. This is actually pretty much the same set that I brought last time, and it's because I really don't think any Suicune is viable against Miguel's team, which is really, really annoying because Suicune is so important to me. But it just can't do its job because of the combination of Blastoise, which can switch in on most Suicunes quite easily and beat them one-on-one, and also Gothitelle, which obviously would just trap any Suicune and maybe trick it or set up on it itself with the Psyshock and beat it one-on-one, potentially. So this is an Assault Vest set that does beat Gothitelle. Shadow Ball will beat Gothitelle. If it's an offensive Gothitelle, I think it 2-hit KOs. If it wants to trick me a Scarf, I will then outspeed the following turn and KO it. And then I've got a Scarf Suicune, which isn't too bad when it's offensive. Yeah, so it hits kind of hard, but not super hard. Mirror Coat's there for the Blastoise, Ice Beam's there for the Roserade, Scald is there for the burns, and to take on Talonflame a little bit better. But it's just a wonky set, and he saw it last time, so I don't know if it'll be very effective this time, but I think it's the most effective Suicune I could bring. I don't think I could bring a more effective one. The next one, this is my Wincon. This is Dragonite. It was the Wincon last time, and it's the Wincon this time. It's probably, in my opinion, it's my only viable Wincon on my entire team. Miguel saw it last time, so he's probably going to prep for it a lot more this time. So I think that this is going to be a really hard match because I don't really see myself getting the opening. Last time, Miguel didn't. Even if he didn't identify Dragonite as a very viable threat against the team, which it is, he didn't give me many opportunities to set up. The only thing I could set up on was Registeel, and I really had to manufacture that situation. I was quite pleased that I managed to do it in the last game. I didn't end up winning, but it was a very good. It came down to roll, and it was a very good shot at winning. But I do think this is really my only viable Wincon, and if Miguel preps better for Dragonite, I don't see there being much chance for me. But I do think that I have a team that could potentially give me that opening if he brings Pokemon that Dragonite can set up on. Anyway, we're bringing the same set because I need E-Speed to out-prioritize Weavile and Talonflame. And it does good damage at +1. Dragon Claw is there just as the powerful stab attack, and then Earthquake to hit Registeel. I was considering Outrage because if he does bring defensive Blastoise again, it will be hard to get through, but I'm thinking that the way you use Blastoise, it generally does just take damage, especially if it's your spinner. So I think I will be able to get enough damage on Blastoise. And this EV spread, I think it just outspeeds Weavile at +1. Is that his fastest thing? I guess it is. Yeah, so... Or maybe it's a Scarf Primeape that I'm trying to... I can't outspeed the Scarf Primeape, what am I talking about? No, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's the Wincon. I've gone Lumberry. I was considering Archie, but I just think Lumberry. And I haven't got Crobat this time either. It really doesn't do enough, because he's got loads of things on his team that... can switch in and deal with it quite well. Registeel would mean that I'd lose a lot of momentum, and then he's got priority in both Talonflame and Weavile that hit it really, really hard, as well as just Blastoise being able to tank it. So I don't think that that's a particularly good way, but it would help me keep my multi-scale, which could be really useful. But I haven't brought it. Instead I've gone with Squirmy Worm, which I do think will be useful for getting the momentum. In the games that I've won, well, in one of the games I won, this thing was pivotal. And I mean that in terms of it was a great pivot switch. And I really need pivot switches, especially because a lot of my offensive checks are kind of more bulky offense rather than sweepers. My team isn't particularly fast. Miguel's team is a lot faster than mine, so my team will have to take hits. So if I can have this as a pivot switch, being able to take some of the hits, then my other offensive ones can take hits from other different things. It just means that I can deal with this team maybe a little bit better, and I need more things to take hits from Blastoise as well, which this thing sort of can do, but if it's an offensive Blastoise, it hits so hard. I've changed the set slightly. Last time I brought Acid Spray for not very good reasons, to be honest, looking back. Knockoff is a lot better of an option just because I can break Uxie's subs depending on its set, and I think Thunderbolt does that better anyway, but yeah, Knockoff will help me get rid of some important items, and it also hits Golurk if it wants to come, which is, I didn't necessarily think it would, but he brought Zeb Striker last time as his Electric immunity, and it wasn't very good. Like, Squirmy Worm beat it one-on-one, so I wouldn't necessarily expect that again. But anyway, we'll get into the battle and see what Miguel brought. Okay, so here we can see Miguel's team, and it is really, really scary. And again, he really hasn't given me many things that my Dragonite will be able to set up on. The only things would be a Uxie, potentially. That's pretty much it. Depending on what the Roserade has, I can potentially take hits from that. And maybe its only thing would be to put me to sleep, which I have the Lumberry for. And again, the Talonflame, if it's for death, maybe I can deal with that with my Dragonite, but it'd still do a big chunk of damage. But those are really my only options. The rest of the team, it's kind of spooky. Gothitelle didn't come this time, which means that I probably could have brought different things to deal with his threats, but if he brought Gothitelle, then it would have been really hard to use a Shed Shell Klefki or something like that, which might have been a bit more useful in this matchup. Just looking at the Roserade being there and the Weavile being there, and Spikes actually being quite useful, it would pressure the Blastoise as well. Anyway, looking at this matchup, I kind of want to lead with my Mew, thinking he might lead with a few different things, but I'm kind of worried about the Weavile lead. Mew can take the hit because it has the Colbur Berry and U-turn out. It also it deals with a Roserade potential lead, so that's what I went with, and he actually leads with the Uxie, if it's going to happen. Yeah, there we go, Uxie. So he's probably just going to get a rock straight away, which is really not great for me. I could have run a Taunt Mew, but Toxic was far more useful in terms of wearing down walls and bulky Pokemon in general. So that's what I went with. And then I'm just going to U-turn here to get some damage on Uxie, because I will, even though I want it alive for my Dragonite, I do need to wear it down, because Dragonite won't be able to KO it at +1 unless it's around 50, maybe below, depending on if it's specially offensive or defensive. Anyway, right now I'm going to go into Cold Turkey, because Cold Turkey can pretty much take anything that it wants to go for. I wasn't really sure what it might want to do. But anyway, Blastoise comes in, and I don't want to just like face off against this Blastoise immediately. So I'm going to go into my Electros. Miguel's got all the momentum right now, because Blastoise is so scary, and I don't really have too much for it. I do have this. This can take one hit, and pretty much just one, because the rocks are up. It's not going to be able to switch in again. So I decide here just to go predict maybe the Zebra, or maybe something else, maybe the Uxie if it's especially defensive, or maybe even the Roserade, because that could definitely eat a hit, and go for the knockoff. Unfortunately, it does under half. I'm now going to go for a Flamethrower, because I know that it will do more to the Zeb Striker. From experience last time, it did over 50%. So anyway, Katniss comes in and is able to take that hit. I'm going to go for another Flamethrower though, because I know he's not staying in, or if he is, he's just going to Flare Blitz and kill me. So I'm just going to go for another Flamethrower as Marty comes in, and you see here, if I had gone for Flamethrower the first time, I actually would have killed the Zeb Striker there and still had Squirmy Worm, for which he would have to revenge, but that's not the case. And that means, because nothing else on my team particularly wants to take it, I have to go into Dragonite. So the Zeb Striker this match was much more useful for Miguel in pressuring my team, because he had the offensive Blastoise that did a lot more damage to Electros. So it's already broken my mortar scale. It was going to be broken anyway, but it just means that next time I come in, I will be at 50%. I do need to save my Dragonite, and Blastoise has come in, which is not something I particularly like to see. The only switch I have for it right now is Suicune. Now, I'm just going to pause it here to explain the next little bit. I've got a couple of options. Well, actually, I've got 3 options. I can stay in and predict the switch into Roserade and go for an Ice Beam. Or I can stay in thinking, because Suicunes can't generally do too much to Blastoise. They just can't. I could try and Scald Burn him, but that's about it. But looking at the damage that I've taken, because he does hit me here, right? Yeah, going for the Dragon Pulse. Looking at the damage taken, and no, he knocked off my Assault Vest last time, so he was sure that I was Assault Vest. He probably knows that I'm Assault Vest again. And I do have the Mirror Coat. So I could click Mirror Coat thinking he might stay in for damage and pretty much just take out this Blastoise, because that's definitely an offensive Blastoise looking at the damage. So I would have thought I'd be able to maybe take him out, or maybe do about 80%, which would be fantastic. But I think that's less likely because he's already seen that I probably Assault Vest and offensive. So what he then might do, so what I could then also do is switch into Mew, predicting the Rose, because going for an Ice Beam still means that I will have to switch in on the Rose, which is not something that I want to do if it has Sleep Powder. So I decided to go to Mew because it would be able to threaten the Rose and just go for a Psychic, and I still have my Colbur Berry if the Weavile wants to switch in. But as you see here, Miguel actually stays in with his Blastoise, and he just goes for a Dark Pulse, which was a very good move and very revealing actually, because he has no reason to go for anything but Dragon Pulse, because nothing on my team resists Dragon Pulse. There are things on my team that resist Dark Pulse in Crocodile, although that would be a weird switch in. But there are 2 things that are weak to Dragon Pulse, so he may as well go for Dragon Pulse, because anything that wants to come in to try and take a hit, Dragon Pulse is likely to hit the hardest, unless I switch into Mew. So basically all that spiel is, he predicted my switch into Mew very, very nicely there, and my Colbur Berry pops, which is really, really bad for me. And I just didn't really expect that play at all, so that was a really, really great play by Miguel. Crazy that the Dark Pulse did that much damage though. Yeah, but anyway, I get the Toxic on the Blastoise. I really need to get rid of this Blastoise, but if I do, then there's not very much at all that's stopping my Dragonite from sweeping as long as I get the setup opportunity. So right now I'm going to go into my Kyurem. I do need to get damage on this, so I'm going to go for a Dragon Pulse. Kyurem isn't going to be able to take a hit from anything else, so that's what I ended up doing, and Blastoise is able to take it out and takes a little bit of toxic damage, and that means that I can revenge it pretty much with what I want. What I choose to go into is my Crocodile. I am Intimidate Crocodile, which is fine, it's whatever. I'm just going to go for an Earthquake here. I've got no reason to do anything else. If Uxie comes in, I can maybe like get some damage on, sack this, and try and get into Dragonite on the Uxie. But anyway, Uxie comes in here. I do set up my rocks, which is really important. Now I've got my rocks up, it means that both Weavile and Talonflame will be in range for a +1 E-speed. So now what I have to do... Okay, so Katniss comes in. This thing, I'm not sure what set it is yet. I'm just going to go into my Suicune because I don't think it's going to be useful. It can't really take hits from Weavile. It definitely can't take hits from Roserade. And it turns out it can't even take hits from the Talonflame. So I think that was pretty good sack. But right now I have to go into... Well, I don't have to go into my Dragonite. I could have gone into my Intimidate Crook there and been able to take a hit. But that would have just brought in Weavile and I would have just lost. So I'm going to go for an E-speed there and take the Talonflame out. And I need to go for a Dragon Dance here, but Dragonite's just not going to live this hit. There's no way, even if he went for a Sludge Bomb, I think I'd probably die at that range. Even if I was Yachi, I wouldn't have lived that, I don't think. But anyway, I'm going to go into my Crook here and going to go for an Earthquake because I really want to kill it, but it turns out it's faster than me, which means it's Scarf. So if I had Knockoff, I would have actually been able to at least take out one more Pokemon because this would have then been slower than me and I would have been able to go for another knock and get another kill. But I don't, so Scarf Roserade wins the game for Miguel. If I gone for E-Speed, would that have made any difference? No, because I'd have still had to eat a hit and then anything else, my Archie would have still been popped, so anything else would have died. So yeah, Miguel did really prep very well for the Dragonite in that match. There really weren't too many great setup opportunities. Uxie would have been the thing to try and set up on. We saw Rocks and U-turn, and I think that's probably it. So it may well have had like an Ice move and Psychic. But because I couldn't keep my multi-scale and because I had a Lumberry over a Yachi Berry, I don't think I would have had many setup opportunities at all there. It might have had Thunder Wave, to be fair, the Uxie, and in which case it would definitely have been a setup opportunity. But I did just need that +1, and Miguel was not going to give it to me. So again, a really good match, not as close as the last one, just because Miguel's prep was really great, and I felt like I had already exhausted my options in the first match. So we are now 7-2, which is not a great record, but not really unexpected because I am struggling with this draft. It's just not cohesive for me. It's not working together, although I am liking some of the mons quite a lot. So anyway, that's going to be it for this upload, and I will try and get my match against Steve, aka Magnitude, up before it's too late. No, before I'll try and get it up Sunday, and failing that Monday, I will try my best. I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm really happy because I've got a job, yay, and I'm moving to Cambridge, which is a really cool place, and I might have some more time to do stuff like this. So yeah, all that's left to be said is I've been foofootoo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.